stand accused by my regrets, and the devil roars his empty threats. I will preach the gospel to myself. I am not a man condemned, for Jesus Christ is my defense. My sin is nailed to the cross, my soul is healed by the stars. The weight of guilt I bear no more. Praise the Lord, oh praise the Lord. The town shame hang over me, the arrows of the enemy. I will run again to Calvary, the rugged hill of hell's defeat, my fortress and my victory. My sin is nailed to the cross, my soul is healed by the stars. The weight of guilt I bear no more. Praise the Lord, oh praise the Lord. My sin is nailed to the cross, my soul is healed by the stars. Now I'm alive forevermore. Praise the Lord, oh praise the Lord. It is finished, sin is vanquished. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. All the glory, all the honor to my Savior, Christ the Lord. It is finished, sin is vanquished. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. All the glory, all the honor to my Savior, Christ the Lord. Stand before the throne at last. His blood will plead my innocence. I will worship him with holy hands and raise the song that never ends of Jesus Christ, my righteousness. My sin is nailed to the cross, my soul is healed by the stars. The weight of guilt I bear no more. Praise the Lord, oh praise the Lord. My sin is nailed to the cross, my soul is healed by the stars. Now I'm alive forevermore. Praise the Lord, oh praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Your love towers over me, gracious tempest in the sea. Your love is like a storm. Oh. Endless tide of mercy rain, fiercest tempest in the sea. Your love is like a storm. Oh. Endless tide of mercy reign. Let it flood my heart again. Surround me like an Love is crashing over me. It's surging like a raging sea. Immerse me in the wonder of your love. A downpour of unending grace, consuming all my reckless ways. My sins submerge. Your love has saved my soul. Your love is like a storm. Your love is like a storm. Your love is like a storm. Your love is crashing over me. It's surging like a raging sea. Immerse me in the wonder of your love. A downpour of unending grace, consuming all my reckless ways. My sins submerged. Your love has saved my soul. Your love is like a storm. Your love is like a storm. Your love is like a storm.
Hey guys, I'm Josiah. I'm one of the volunteers here at Hope, youth leader, work with the high schoolers mainly. As you'll notice, I'm not Lenny. Lenny, he had a surgery this week and he's been under the weather, so I'm taking over for him. That's right, it's my show now, baby. Just kidding, that felt really bad. So today we are finishing out our series. I've been given this illustrious, really fantastic big project of closing out a series that I did not choose, Habakkuk over here. We're in week 3. Honestly, it's a fantastic book, though. Super short, super succinct, and super applicable for today. Today we are, so today's talk, this is the conclusion, all right, in multiple ways, both for our series, and there's 3 chapters. This is the last one. This is how Habakkuk ties it all up. So let's kick it off by talking about where we are. Habakkuk was a minor prophet during the situation where Israel was split up into 2 kingdoms. We had Judah and Israel proper, all right? And his whole conflict involved, his whole frustration talks about how Judah, the kingdom in the south, was turning away from God and having a whole bunch of problems and turning to a whole bunch of stuff. That was not great. And he was like, hey, God, by the way, this is the summary of chapter 1. All right, you're welcome. Cliff's Notes, here we are. Chapter 1 is basically Habakkuk being like, yo, God, hey, I don't like how Judah's been acting. They're awful. They're not following your instructions. What's up with these people? And God's like, you are so right. I'm sending the Babylonians to nuke them. You're welcome. And Habakkuk is like, yeah, okay, hold on. I don't know if we talked about this. So that's Habakkuk 1, where Okay, I'll phrase it this way, actually. Habakkuk is split up into, three chapters, but the first two chapters have a very different format than the third one. The first chunk is it's a dialogue between Habakkuk and God. So he's going back and forth. It's like Habakkuk basically complains, God responds, and then Habakkuk complains again, and then God responds, and we've got Habakkuk 3, which is just a prayer out loud. Okay, so we have this conversation that's, a lot more, it's a little heated at times. You know, Habakkuk's not super happy all the time with God and the whole choices that he made, or the judgment that he's bringing down. But so Habakkuk 1 is all about, the basic takeaway is that, hey, the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, they're coming down. They're gonna punish the Judeans, and guess what? You're one of them, so good luck, buddy. It's rough. Habakkuk rightfully sits there and he's all, okay, that's a little steep. How are we going to handle this? I'm not sure how we're feeling. So as we move into chapter 2, Habakkuk is like, so that's not great, God, because how are you going to have all these just unpleasant, tyrannical pagans come in here and just these awful, wicked people come in and mete out your judgment? You know, how are you going to use them to judge us, who are so much more, well, who are your chosen people, you know what I mean? And God says, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry, I got plenty of judgment for them too. Okay, and that's where he jumps into the 5 woes. And he says, woe be to the Chaldeans for so many reasons, 5 reasons that I'm not going to get into because that was last week. Read your homework, people. As we get into Habakkuk 3, it follows a similar format to the story of Job, or the book of Job, I should say, in the Old Testament, where there's all these trials and tribulations, and then it ends with, Job looks to the camera and says, this is what I learned today. Habakkuk kind of does that, but he shifts and he turns to God, and he has he shouts out a prayer to the sky, basically, here. And I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I'll summarize a good chunk of it for you guys, because, it is only a page, 2 pages, 3 pages. No, that's too much to read. I'm not doing that today. But God has done his whole, has explained exactly what's going to happen, judgment, how it's all going to come down. And Habakkuk sits there and he's like, you know what? All right, that's manageable. It's kind of a hard pill to swallow for me, because I would be a little more resistant in my opinion, but that's just because I'm mean. Okay, the first chunk of this chapter is basically Habakkuk just shouting out, you know what, God, I've heard the report of you and your... Okay, I guess I am going to read the whole chapter. The chapter kicks off like so, and I have the ESV version, so it's going to be different than Lenny's usual stuff. O Lord, I've heard the report of you and your work, O Lord, do I fear. In the midst of the years, revive it. In the midst of the years, make it known. In wrath, I remember mercy. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. His splendor covered the heavens, and his earth was full of praise. His brightness was like the light. Rays flashed from his hand, and he veiled his power. Before him went pestilence, and plague followed at his heels. He stood and measured the earth. He looked and shook the nations. Then the eternal mountains were scattered. The everlasting hills sank low. His were the everlasting ways. Point is, so he opens up and he's talking about the scriptural sort of ways that God has shown up previously. The big one for the Jews and Judea and all these the divided kingdom over here, the big one for them was their whole salvation from Egypt. That was the big legendary event that they're talking about. So God, he's looking back to the Exodus and being like, yo, remember those plagues? Remember those pestilences, right? God did turn to the Egyptians and gave them their just desserts. So how should I not expect that to happen to the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, the incoming new oppressors, which is great because there's always an oppressor. Then, though, so he's talking about like the legendary stuff, the things that he grew up learning or read in books. But then he shifts to talk about things that he has seen, right, in verse 7. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. As also, Moses he got a Midian wife, this whole thing. Was your wrath against the rivers, O Lord? Was your anger against the rivers, or your indignation against the sea, when you rode on your horses on your chariot of salvation? You stripped the sheath from your bow, calling for many arrows. You split the earth with rivers. The mountains saw you and writhed. The raging waters swept on. The deep gave forth its voice. It lifted its hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their place at the light of your arrows as they sped, at the flash of your glittering spear. You marched through the earth in fury. You threshed the nations in anger. You went out for the salvation of your people, for the salvation of your anointed. You crushed the head of house of the wicked, laying him bare from thigh to neck. Which, by the way, my footnote says that the Hebrew line there is uncertain, so I don't know what he means from thigh to neck. That's just weird. Verse 14, you pierced with his own arrows the heads of his warriors, who came like a whirlwind to scatter me, rejoicing as if to devour the poor in secret. You trampled the sea with your horses, the surging of mighty waters. So that's like God's resume for the Hebrews. They're like, all right, let's just remember. Let's just look back. This is what our impossibly powerful God has done in the past for us. Let's not forget that. So then Habakkuk, after giving this huge long list, verse 16, he takes it and converts it to like personal action. All right? I hear and my body trembles. My lips quiver at the sound. Rottenness enters into my bones. My legs tremble beneath me. Yet I will quietly wait for the day of trouble to come upon people who invade us. Moving into verse 17 here. Though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God, the Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on my high places. So, this is interesting. And I had a point, and I forgot it. I was there. So, all right, I've got two main points for you guys today. All right, number one, start a dialogue. Okay, Habakkuk, when he was frustrated with God, he let him know. So literally, it is okay to pray your frustrations to God. And even though you may not like the answer immediately, you'll get the truth. So I would suggest, that's numero uno over here. Start a dialogue, find time to pray, to discuss, to listen for a response from God, whether that's quiet times or, driving around town listening to angry music, or just right before bed reading your Bible and closing your eyes, and maybe you're lucky and you just get hey, this is the answer. Because I never get that, but that would be cool. Let me know if that happens. We'll write a book about it or something. My second takeaway from Habakkuk is that when we talk about God's resume, right? If you want to talk, his whole list of, hey, this is what you did for my forefathers coming out of Egypt. This is, what you did for Exodus. I would challenge you to look at God's resume in your life. Ultimately, the thing that grounds me in my faith with God is the things that he has done for me in my personal life, like things that he has lined up that I had absolutely no control over, people that he brought into my life through just various random circumstances, the current events that have affected me in ways that are very, very, things just line up. You know what I mean? Look for those moments of significance. They don't look the same to everybody else, just like your quiet times and your ways of connecting with God are not always going to be the same going from person to person to person. But as long as they're significant to you, that's what matters. So I would suggest, in summary, find time to have a dialogue with God, and don't forget the things that he's done for you. Make an effort to consciously, seek those things out, just like Habakkuk did. I really hope you enjoyed our series on Habakkuk. I'm looking forward to the next project that Lenny's got in store, and getting to meet with you guys in person, and all these fantastic things coming up for the summer. If you have any questions or comments or disagree with me completely, please let me know. Hit me up. Let's talk about it. I'd love to discuss it with you. In the meantime, hope you have a fantastic week. Stay healthy, stay safe out there. I love you all.